What's up, guys? This is Richard again for this edition of Learning with Rich. So, for today's lesson, I'm going to teach you how to create a sloped roof with steel framing in Revit Structure 2017. Okay, so in this exercise, I'm going to create a sloped roof by footprint and a curved roof by extrusion. And then after that, I'm going to add structural framing to each roof. Alright, so let's get started. So on my second floor roof, so from the architecture, I'm going to create here the roof. Okay, so I'm going to use roof by footprint. Okay, and then I'll be using this type. Okay, and then using the pick lines option, so I'm going to pick my lines here. Okay, what about, I'll just use this one, the pick walls tool. So pick walls tool, and then I'm going to move my pointer to the interior side of this wall, and then I'm going to press tab. Okay, so you will notice after I press tab, it highlights the selection, right? So you see, it highlights the selection. Okay, so every time you press tab, it cycles the selection. So once it highlights, I'm going to click now to place the boundary. There you go. So there's now the boundary of my roof. As you can see, there's also an arrow here wherein you can flip to the other side. Okay, in case you want to use the exterior part of the wall as your boundary. Anyway, I'm going to use this one. Okay, and then the next thing that I'm going to do, so you will notice, okay, I'll just select modify first. If I'm going to select the lines, okay, there is no slope. Okay, so if you want to add slope to your roof, so what you can do is you just select one line, or you can also select all the lines. In this case, I'll select this one, and then you see there's an option here, defines slope. So after I select the defines slope, so you will notice that I can now change here the slope. I can also change here. Okay, so I'm going to click this one. So let's say I'm going to make it 1.19. There you go. And then after that, I select modify. Okay, then to finish up, I'm going to select here, check to finish. There you go. So there's now my roof. So if I go to the 3D view, so this is now the roof that I created. Okay, so let me just open this section view here, roof section at grid 2, just to show you the roof that I just created. You see there's a slope here. Okay, again, you can also change it from the properties. Right? So what I'm going to do next, you see this column here, I'm going to attach that to my roof. Okay, so I'm going to select the column, and then there's an option here, attach top base. I click this, and then after that I click the roof. There you go. So I just need to close this warning. Okay. All right. So after that, what I'm going to do next is, okay, I'm going to open, or I'm going to set the reference plane. Okay, so I'm going to set the reference plane here. So I select this. Okay, and using the pick a plane option, I'm going to select OK. So I'm going to use this underside of my roof as my work plane. So I'm going to select this. Okay, and then from the go to view, I'm going to open again the second floor roof. All right. So the reason why I did that, because I'm going to create now my beam. Okay, so I'm going to add beam. So from the structure tab, I'm going to select here the beam. Okay, so using 460 by 52, I'm going to place my beam now. So using the line tool. Okay, so tag on placement, so that every time I place the beam, it will add also the tag. Okay, so let me just start creating my beam. So I pick here. Okay, I'm gonna pick here. tab. Okay, this one, and then I pick here. Okay, I'm going to add here also, and then I'm going to pick here. Okay, so let me just turn on the turn off the thin lines so I can see the line weights of my beam. Okay, so after that, I'm going to create another beam here, snapping at the midpoint of this one. So I select again the beam tool. Okay, so I'm going to snap at the midpoint, and then I'm going to click the wall here. Okay, so I'm going to click the midpoint. So let me just escape once first. Okay, and then I click this one. All right, and then I'm going to snap at the wall here. There you go. Okay, so that's now my beam. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to mirror these beams 1, 2, 3 to the other side here. Okay, so I'm going to mirror that. So I click this, hold control, and then I'm going to use the mirror peak axis. So I'm going to pick my 8.5 as my axis. There you go. And then I select here modify. Okay, next I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy, I select, and then I select copy here. I'm gonna pick the base point. I'm gonna make sure multiple here is check and constraint is check. So it constrains the move direction. So I'm going to pick here as my base point. I pick here, and then I want to place another copy. So let's say I want 3600. There you go. And then I select here modify. Now, if you want to add here your tag, just like this one, you can always go to annotate, and then you can use here tag by category. Okay, you can add a tag here. If you do not want to have your leader line, so you can uncheck this one, and then you can proceed clicking your beam, right? Okay, there you go. And then I select here modify. So after that, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the girders that I just placed here. So to do that, I'm going to open again the roof section at grid 2 view, and I want you to notice that the new roof support beams that I just created, including the girder, is sloped with the roof, right? You see, it is slopes with the roof. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the angle of this. So instead of 0, so I'm just going to follow also the angle of this one, which is what? 1.19. Okay, so I'm going to select this one, and then I change the angle here, 1.19 also. All right. Okay, and then as you notice, my line weights here are too thick and I cannot see the details of my lines. That's why I'm going to turn on the thin lines. So after I turn on the thin lines, so you will notice that all the lines with the thin line weight display, okay, making it easier to work in our view. Okay, so however, these thin lines does not affect your printing. The lines still print with their assigned line weight. So thin lines is global settings that affect all the views. Okay, but it doesn't affect the printing. Okay. All right, so I'm going to move now the girder. So I'm going to pick this. Okay, I'm going to select the move tool. I'll snap at the midpoint of that girder, and then I'm going to snap here at the grid, this one. There you go. Okay, and then I select modify. So I'm going to restore again the thin line. I'm going to restore again, turn off the thin lines to restore the line weights. Okay. So I'll just change the slope of this one. So I click this, I click the roof, and then I'll change the slope here. So instead of 1.19, so let me just make it 2 this time. Okay, so you see, our girder follows the roof, but then again, it didn't change the slope here. I mean the angle. So I click the angle here. I'm gonna make it 2 also. Okay, and then let me just turn on the thin lines again because I'm going to move this again to the grid. Alright, there you go. And modify. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a curved canopy roof. Okay, okay, so this is where I'm going to place it. So let me just open the first floor. Okay, so I'm going to place here the curved canopy roof. So I'm going to use this reference grid. Okay, this is where I'm going to reference my reference plane. Okay, so if I select this, so you will notice the name of that grid is 4.1. See, 4.1. So I'm going to use this grid as my reference for my reference plane. Okay, so to start creating my curved canopy roof, I'm going to open the elevation view here of my canopy. So canopy elevation. So this is where I'm going to place it. So to create roof, this time I'm going to select roof by extrusion. So I select roof by extrusion, and then from the work plane, instead of using pick a plane, I'm going to select here the name option, and then I'll just go ahead look for the grid that I'm going to use for the reference of my work plane, which is 4.1, the one that I have just shown you. So I'm going to use this one, and then I select here OK. Right? And then for the roof reference level and offset, so instead of roof here, I'm going to select canopy for the reference level. Okay, and then I select here OK. Alright, to start creating the sketch of my roof, I'm going to use here start and radius arc with a radius of 5,000. So I use 5,000 here. Okay, so to start, I'm going to pick here. This is the start. This is the end of the arc, and then this is the arc. So I'm going to pick, and then I select here modify. Okay, so again, I'll be using this roof. And then after that, the next thing that I'm going to do is to specify here the length or the extrusion of my roof. Okay, so I already measured that, so I'm going to key in here minus 300 and 5,800. Okay, you can actually specify any values here, then later on you can just drag your extruded roof later on. Okay, so anyway, I'll be using this extrusion measurement, and then I'm going to select here check. There you go. So if I go to the 3D view, it looks like this. Okay, like what I have said, you can still modify this, you see, right? You can still modify. So you notice that part is my extrusion start. So this side here. So you notice it changes the value, right? So I'll just make this again minus 300. Okay. Okay, so after that, the next thing that I'm going to do, okay, so I'm going to create a curved beams. Okay, so I'm going to create a curved beams, a beam that follows the curve of my roof here. Okay, so to start with, I'm going back again to my canopy elevation. So I'm going to select the beam tool again. Okay, so this time I'm going to use again the 4.1. Okay, and then the type of the, okay, I'll just select OK first. Okay, and then the type of the beam, I'm going to use this one. Okay, and I'll use peak lines. Okay, so peak lines, and then I'm going to pick the underside of the roof, this one. There you go. Then after that, I select here modify. Okay, so there's now my beam. So if I check the 3D again, so you will notice I now have here beam. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to copy this using array. Okay, so using the array tool, I'm going to copy this one. Let me just open first my canopy view. Okay, so this is the one. Okay, in case you're having difficulty selecting the beam here, you can press the tab. So you will notice every time you press tab, it cycles the selection. Okay, all right. So I select this frame. Okay, and then I'm going to use array. Okay, so make sure you are selecting the beam that you just created. Okay, so you select that, this one, and then after that I select here array. So I select the array using the linear array. I'm going to copy this 6 times, including the original one, using the last option. Okay, move to last. So I'm going to pick now my 4.1 grid as my reference, and then this will be the last location of my beam. So I'm going to pick. There you go. And after that, I select modify. So if I'm going to check again the 3D view, this is now how it looks like. There you go. So beautiful. So let me just change the transparency of my roof. So I click the roof, right click, and then or override graphics in view by category. So I'll just change here the transparency. So instead of 0, so maybe I'll make it 50. Apply. There you go. So it's now transparent. So I select OK. Right. Right. So there's now my curve beam and then my slope roof. Okay. So my steel framing, the curve beam, and then the slope roof here. This is now our exercise. So hopefully you learned something from this video. So if you have any comments, suggestions, or questions, you can put it on the comment section below, and then I'll get back to you as soon as I can. You can also subscribe to this channel by clicking the subscribe button so that you will be notified every time I create a video. And you can also subscribe to my blog site. Okay, so you can email me there directly in case you have any problems or in case you want to have the exercises files. Alright, so once again, this is Richard from Learning with Rich. Have a nice day.